Welcome to Scream With Me with award-winning author D.W. Sauer. The content discussed in this story you're about to hear discusses potentially sensitive topics that include, but are not limited to, physical and substance abuse, addictions, paranormal and supernatural, extraterrestrial, mythological, and graphic violence that may be triggers to some. The goal of this podcast is to entertain and not cause harm. The author does not intend to undermine the struggles of people who have suffered or been a victim. Please stop listening when any parts of the story become too much. All episodes of Scream With Me are copyrighted by the author and can be purchased in print. All rights are reserved to author D.W. Sauer, and no parts of this production may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form by means of electronical, mechanical, transcribed, photocopied, screenshotted, recorded, sample, or other forms of reproduction without the written permission of author D.W. Sauer. The following story you're about to hear is a work of fiction. Some Scream With Me stories are inspired by local and national folklore. However, the characters and events are fictitious with the exception of verifiable historical events and locations. All incidences, descriptions, dialogue, and opinions are expressed products of the author's imagination and not to be construed as real. Unconditional Love, Part 2. The touch of death pierced Emma's skin, and the words, "I know," ran through her like a cold chill down her spine. "I know," the voice repeated. Emma opened her eyes to see complete darkness. Like the cold of the demon's touch, this was a darkness that Emma couldn't experience in life. With eyes wide open, Emma couldn't see her hands out in front of her or anything else discernible. It was complete and utter darkness. With her eyes failing her, Emma yelled, "What do you know?" A light brighter than the sun flashed before Emma. She closed her eyes, covered them as best as she could, but the light still shined through. Slowly, the intensity faded enough for Emma to remove her hands. And as the light continued to dim, Emma slowly began opening her eyes and found herself standing in her home. Not the one that she just bought, but the one she started a family in. It was the one she and Jonathan bought just after she found out she was pregnant with Ashley. It too was a fixer-upper, but it was a home. Emma was standing in her bedroom. The queen bed was neatly made, but the dresser was a mess. Bottles, bills, brushes, clothes, and more littered the top. Emma looked down at the old shag carpet and jumped when seeing a pair of feet nestled between her legs. She rushed out the other side of the room, turned back and looked. A woman was sitting on the floor with her back resting on the door. The woman wasn't just anyone, though. It was her. "No, no, no," Emma started to cry. "Not here, not now." Emma walked to the door, turned the knob, and pulled, but the door didn't budge. It didn't move because a version of her was sitting on the floor. No, it didn't move at all. The door might as well have been part of the wall. Emma tried again, and it was the same. She slammed her fist on the door and yelled, "Let me out!" She did this 3 times before giving up. She then walked over to the bed and sat. "Please let me go. I didn't know." Suddenly, a snap rang out, and both Emmas looked up. It was the unmistakable sound of Jonathan's belt. He'd clutch the ends, scrunch up the leather, and jerk it straight out, creating a snapping sound like a bullwhip. The sound was like thunder warning you that a storm was approaching, and it did approach. The knob on the door began to jiggle, and it became more violent. "Open the door," he yelled. His fist pounded on the door, and Emma's body jolted with each smash. When unable to get in, the snapping proceeded until Emma heard Ashley's cries. "Stop. Please stop." Suddenly, Emma was no longer standing in the bedroom, but now was in the kitchen. She rushed over to the back door and saw herself getting out of the car. "No, please no," Emma pleaded, but the scene was already unfolding. The snap of leather started. Emma could hear Ashley crying and the keys jiggling as they unlocked the door. Emma's younger self opened the door fully and started to step inside the house. The belt snapped once more, and Emma's head jerked up. She paused until she heard the next snap, and then quietly and slowly backed out of the house. Emma watched as she got back in the car and pulled away. "Please stop. I'm sorry." Once more, Emma's pleas went unheard, and she was transported. This time she was a passenger in the car. Jonathan was driving while Ashley and Brittany were quietly sitting in the back seat. The silence was only out of sheer terror. Ashley gripped her sister's hand tightly as the car haphazardly drove down a dirt road. Emma knew that this was the end for Jonathan, and each bump seemed to make the pit in her stomach grow larger and larger. She looked back to the girls and could tell they wanted to cry, but Emma, like the girls, knew that crying would only make things worse. Ashley looked over at her sister, who was looking straight ahead. Tears were forming in the corner of their eyes, but their strength was holding them back. They had a strength that Emma didn't, and at that moment, the shame for all they let Jonathan get away with came to the surface. Unable to hold it in any longer, the tears began to flow as the car came to a halt. Everyone got out, and Emma made eye contact with Jonathan. His almost black eyes seemed to gleam with not just anger, but also delight. Emma never knew what made one of the kindest souls she ever met turn into Mr. Hyde. However, she realized what it was that caused him to turn into a vile person was the same thing that caused her to become a coward. Without being told, Ashley and Brittany walked to the trunk of the car. This reaction was only the cause of having to do this time and time again. How many times did he do this, Emma thought. The snap of the belt brought Emma back to her current reality. "Bend over," Jonathan ordered. Ashley did as told, and Emma could see her eyes locking on the crowbar. She reached out and gripped it so tightly you could see the white in her knuckles. Ashley turned toward Jonathan, swung the iron, and connected with his jaw. As the force caused Jonathan's face to turn the side of his body, blood, teeth, and spit spewed from his mouth. Jonathan fell to the ground, and Ashley quickly jumped on top of his chest. Before he could react, she reared back her arm and swung. The crunch of Jonathan's jaw breaking made Emma flinch. Like a tennis player returning a volley, Ashley pulled the crowbar across her body and delivered a backhand swing to her father's other jaw. Blood poured from his mouth. It flew all over Ashley as he begged, "Please stop." The request infuriated Ashley, and she started to violently and haphazardly swing. She hit his head, neck, shoulders, and Emma could tell Ashley just wanted to inflict the same pain he had caused her all these years. "That's enough," a raspy voice said. Ashley jumped off her father and turned to the voice. Emma looked over and saw the demon that had terrorized them. Brittany then rushed to Ashley's side, and they took several steps back from their father and the demon. "What are you? What do you want?" Ashley demanded. "I've come for your sin," he answered. "Take him. He's the one that sinned. Take him," Ashley screamed. The finger waved. "He's not mine to take. Another handles those like him." The figure turned to his right, and the black figure waved his finger. "He's not mine to take. Another handles those like him." The demon turned to his right, and another suddenly became visible. It was as if Emma was looking at demonic twins. They even moved the exact same way. The newly appeared waved his hand, and the figure started to become visible. Her husband came into full view, despite his body laying just feet before them. Before Jonathan's spirit could react, the demon grabbed Jonathan by the neck. His mouth was moving as if it were saying 1,000 words a minute, but nothing came out. "We all have a job, and mine is to collect you." Emma was once again transported, and this time she arrived at her new house. All the events that happened from the time they moved in until the time the demon took her flashed before her eyes. When the journey ended, she was face to face with the girls. "Brittany, Ashley, it's over." Emma tried to move, but she couldn't. She looked around. Again, she tried to move, but couldn't. "What's happening? Why didn't you do anything?" Ashley asked. I'm, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me," Emma pleaded. "I tried, but I can't. Ehrlich showed us everything. He showed us every opportunity you had to stop it, to do something." Tears now flowed down Emma's cheeks. "It's a little too late for tears, Mom. Dad hurt us over and over, and you did nothing." Brittany wiped a tear from her eye. "You even chose to leave instead of helping us? You deserve punishment as much as he did." "It's true that he doesn't like children, so we've made a deal," Ashley informed. What deal?" "He comes for sins, and yours is just as bad as mine, so I offered him you." Emma shook her head. "You offered me? I wanted you to think that you offered yourself as a sacrifice. I wanted you to believe that you were looking after us And once you felt you did the right thing, I wanted to rip it from you. You mean I'm not done, Ashley informed. Erlich can make you see whatever he wants you to see. We knew the lights were going to turn off and on. And he made it look like we were beaten, Brittany added. And he made it look like we disappeared when we were beside you the whole time. We saw how panicked you were. But trust me, when I say that it was nothing like we experienced time and time again, the longing for your kids to return is nothing like the dread I felt hearing the snap of that belt come closer and closer. They suffered, and now you must. Erlich appeared behind the girls. He removed his mask and started walking towards Emma. Girls, please don't do this. Please don't do this. Erlich placed the mask on Emma's face, and it attached to her. It was like a predator latching onto its prey. It formed all around her head and exposed only her eyes. Emma's screams were muffled, but they were heard, and Ashley and Brittany watched as their mom and Erlich faded away. Thank you for listening to Scream With Me, and stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, you can stay up to date with following me on Instagram at DWSour. More information, including how to purchase my books, can be found at dwsour.com.